Good morning. It's the second last week in Principles of Programming Graphical User Interfaces, and in this React track, like in the other track, this week I'm talking about localization. So how to make your application so that it can be translated and adjusted to different cultures and languages and so on, and then also some words about accessibility, how to make the application so that everybody can use it. Just briefly looking at some aspects, mainly from the screen reader point of view, and showing also a little bit about validation of the typed in data. So let's start with the first demo. Sharing this window now, see it, and this first one is called NumberFormating, and it's about, as you can see, different types of numbers displayed, and in I have this language selection now. Our language is English, so it says date is Tuesday, April 7th. Number is 1.326. Balance is, this symbol is rupee symbol, so this currency here I'm displaying is the Indian rupees, and percentage is 133%. And if I open this list, I can choose, for example, Finnish language, and it says päivä on tiistai 7. huhtikuuta. Typo there, numero on, and you can see that also here it's comma, it was dot in the English version. Saldo is, and also the currency is displayed here as this abbreviation INR, Indian rupees, and things like that. So simple application to the outside, and it's not very complex inside either. You can test it out yourself and see what sort of things we get with the different languages. And okay, I think I shared only the browser. I better share the whole screen so that I can jump between the code and the application. So here is the code for this application. Usual start, importing things. There is one extra thing here. I'm importing these text.json as texts, and this contains the translation. I think I will look at that in the end. Use styles with just one thing there. The application has a couple of use state variables. One is the familiar anchor L, so anchor for that menu which opens, so for this language selection menu. And then I have locale. So this contains the language code, and I will talk a little bit more about this concept of locale. And then I have this array of supported locales. Yeah, doing the regular menu open thing we have seen before, and handling the menu opening and closing. Then we get to the actual topic, how we format those numbers. And for this, JavaScript contains this package Intl, short for internationalization. So you don't need to do this tedious thing yourself. You just ask to get the datetime format. You give the locale, so this is just a language code, or it can be a combination of language code and region, because, for example, English language, there are various versions of English language. There's the British English and American English and Australian English and Indian English and so on, many others. And then for the datetime format, you can give different specifications. I say that weekday should be displayed in short form, day in numeric form and month in long format. So this results in, for example, English language, short form for the weekday is this 3-letter thing. If you would ask for long, it would be for whole world Tuesday. And month is long, so it's whole month name, April, and then day is numeric, so it's 7. So you can control these different elements, how they are done, and as you can see from the name, date time format, you can also give the hour, minute, and second. And if you include all of those, you get the whole date and time. If you just specify those fields for date, you only get date, and if you specify just time related one, you get those. And then second one is the basic number format. You just get number format with locale, so this formats the second part, and as you noticed, at least the decimal separator is different in different cultures, which you probably already knew. And I think the 1000 separator is also something that changes between some cultures. And then I get this percentage format. So again, it's just a number format, but here you give style %, and then you can give maximum fraction of digits and say 0 digits, so there are no digit here. And finally, I have the currency format, where I give the style currency, and here you also specify what currency it is using these currency codes. Then I take care of the translation part. So here is the text JSON I loaded. And maybe I just show it at this point. So text JSON is very simple. It's just this JavaScript object with fields en and fi, just using the language codes for keys. And inside each language code, there is a key value pair. Same keys, date is, number is, balance is, percentage is, and here is date is, number is, balance is. And for Finnish, I fixed that error now. And here I check if the text has this locale, which is currently set by default, it's English. If so, we get that part, put it into this variable bundle. Otherwise, we get the English, which is so English works as the default fallback. So if the language is something else, something we haven't included in this configuration file, then it falls back to English. So we always get some text in the interface. Then I'm using here use effect, and I do this to check out what are the supported locales. So I initiate this array. I do this very ugly way and just brute forcing my way through this. I check every 2-letter combination and build this language code, 2-letter language code, because the internationalization, well, I'm checking the number format, but basically, of course, theoretically, I should also check the support for date time format, but basically they support the same locales. So you can get the support locales of the number format, but you must give some language code there or some local code, and then it tells what is supported within that. It's an array, usually contains just one item. I'm just making little assumptions here, and if there is more, at least one item, I take the first one and put that into my array, and then I put that into the variable. So there is a quick, well, perhaps not the fastest way even, and more of a dirty way to do this thing, but now I know what are all the locales that this browser implementation supports. And then this is use effect here. And it has this function like we have seen in the use effect before. You can give another parameter to the use effect, and it's an array, and it's an array of these variables you have. And it tells which variables this effect depends on. And now I give it an empty array, and this means it doesn't depend on anything. So by default, it depends on everything. So every time something changes and interface is updated, the use effect is executed or called, like we have been doing in all those graphics examples. But in this case, this effect is something I want to run just once. The supported locales, they don't change, at least while the application is running. So it's enough to do this once when the application starts. And you can do it with use effect and giving an empty array in there. And by adjusting this list, you can utilize use effect for different users, and you can do several effects in one application. Okay, now I have almost everything ready. I just get the styles, and then I have one fixed number, and it's the same number displayed in all those different fields, 1.32576, just very random number. And here it's displayed with regular number format, and it rounds it up a little bit, and you can control this, how many fragments there are. The currency is rounded to 2 decimal places, and per percentage I ask no decimals, and remember it's this number, or with the fractions that was came to percentage. So basically percentage just multiplies it by 100 and then rounds it up to whatever level you want it to be. And then we go to the actual application return statement. The menu for language selection is a button. So you can put a menu inside a button. I just put the current locale into the button text, just a regular button, and the menu is here right after that. Of course, that can be anywhere because the anchor element is what binds the location of the menu. Like before, in all cases, I have been using menus. It's just an anchor element. An anchor element is set when the user clicks the whatever is there, and the event current target is used as the anchor element. Nothing special there. Usual menu settings and listeners for open and on close. And then what you can assume is that, okay, I just used map of the supported locales. And here I'm creating this local class instance with just give me the language code there. And I'm not really using any of the special features of the locale, but it just shows that there is this actual local class in Intl internationalization package. And here I'm getting the language code out of that l.language. And yeah, just building menu item there, and the event handlers there, closing the menu here, and then setting the locale here. So set locale just puts here actually the yeah, just the language code. So this is not really needed here. I could just use the item here instead of this, but it shows that there is this local class and it contains the language, and then it also contains the region. And then finally, the interface itself, I use typographies here in a way it's not really perhaps recommended, but I'll get back to that in another example. Just as name. And here I'm using the bundle, so just using those keys in the bundle. So bundle was this one section of this or this of these texts, and here are those keys and their values. So I'm using the bundle date is, bundle number is, and so on to get the correct translation or correct texts in correct language. And then I'm using the date formatter, DateTimeFormat object, and NumberFormat objects, and just tell them to format. In these last three cases, they just format the same number, and in the first case, just format new date, and when you create a new date is this very moment right now, so that you can see that the application talks about today. And that is it. That is the application in total. So the critical things here is this concept of locale and language codes, and most importantly, the DateTimeFormat and NumberFormat in the internationalization package. That's part of the JavaScript or in JavaScript solutions. And I think that is everything I have to say about this example.